My grandmother was my hero. She was amazing. She was a Second World War survivor, and she lived most of her adulthood under communism in Poland. As a little girl, I watched her providing for her whole family. And when I say whole family, I don't just mean her husband and her kids. She provided for and helped her mom, who was, yes, I do remember my great-grandma. And she helped her sisters and her brother and provided for all of us grandkids. She was the most resourceful and successful woman I know. Back in communist Poland, we didn't have a huge selection of food. The choice was really limited, but somehow my grandma always found the best meat cuts, the best cold cuts for the sandwiches, the freshest cheese, good fruits, good vegetables. She baked amazing breads and pastries. She built 2 houses and then sold them and then bought apartments. And then somehow she managed to own a convenience store while working as a head chef in one of the biggest high schools in her city. She was as entrepreneurial as communism allowed her. But she was also teaching me that life is hard, that you can't trust anyone, that you really need to rely just on yourself. We have the saying in Polish that if you can count on yourself. Well, my grandma was embodiment of this saying. So for years, I held it as truth. I didn't realize how much the advice from the beloved grandmother will become a belief that was actually holding me back. I watched her life, her story, and I believed it to be my story. Last week, I took part in a very intense business bootcamp with a business coach. One of the days during this bootcamp was entirely devoted to a mindset. I came face to face with some of the stories and how they shaped my thinking. And it was painful. I grabbed a clean piece of paper and wrote down all of the stories that turned into a very limiting and discouraging beliefs. Here are some of them. I have to do everything alone. Asking for advice is a sign of weakness. People don't want to help me. I am alone in my dreams. I stared at my list and I was really hurting. For a moment there, it felt like I was betraying my grandma. She tried so hard and she meant so well. And now, am I questioning her life? And then it hit me. I wasn't questioning her life. I wasn't questioning her story. I was actually simply acknowledging it and really honoring it by letting it be hers. It was time to rewrite my story. It was time to use the old beliefs to build a new ones. I have a great foundation and a solid example of entrepreneurial habits. I just simply live in a different times and in a different context. It was time to let my grandma's story stay where it belongs, in the past, with her. So I was sitting at my kitchen table with that piece of paper in front of me, and I was thinking, where do I start? And I started the only way I knew how, with silence. And I invited kindness and compassion to the table to help me write new beliefs. I started forming new thoughts that were becoming, or that are, in fact, a part of my story, the story that I live right now. They're part of who I am right now, not how I was in the past. I grabbed a different color Sharpie and started drawing arrows from the old, discouraging, limiting beliefs and started writing out new, empowering beliefs. Asking for help is a sign of wisdom, maturity, and strength. I have friends and family who support me. There are plenty of resources out there, and I can tap into them. Rewriting our stories is not just simply uncomfortable. It hurts. It is painful. But we can rewrite our story and write a new one only if we face the old one. Only if we acknowledge the old one. Yes, you do need self-compassion and kindness to write a new story. There is no reason to be hard on yourself. It actually is a moment to be proud of yourself that you're taking a pretty big and bold step. I knew that if I wanted a new life, I needed a new way of thinking, not the one I built in my childhood. So if you feel stuck, and it feels like every time you're trying to do something new in your life, you're running into the same walls, well, take a look at the stories that you have in your head, that you're telling yourself. What do you believe about yourself? Most of the beliefs we hold that stop us from living the life we want, the life we dream about, were shaped in our childhood. Some might need professional help of a therapist to work through, and some just might need a clean piece of paper and colorful markers. Just put them on paper and transform them in line with who you are right now. List everything you believe about yourself, about money, about relationships, you name it, and ask yourself, where does this belief come from? Who does it belong to? Is it mine? Like in my case, on my list, my beliefs belong to my grandma. You are your own person, a new person, a different person. You can live with your own empowering beliefs.